etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam etadhiyaturachittanam
matra sparshechaya
muhu
bhavasindhu plavo
drishto haricharyanuvarnanam. Anybody online? etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam etadhiyaturachittanam matra sparshe chaya muhu bhavasindhu plavo drishto haricharyanuvarnanam. Synonyms: etad, this, he, certainly, aturachittanam, of those whose minds are always full of cares and anxieties. Matra, objects of sense enjoyment. Sparsha, senses. Ichchaya, by desires. Muhuhu, always. Bhavasindhu, the ocean of nations. Plavaha, boat. Drashtaha, experienced. Haricharya, activities of Hari, the personality of Godhead. Anuvarnanam, constant recitation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nations on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Translation with repetition: it is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nations on a most suitable boat, the constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. He must be doing something, thinking of something or talking about something. Generally, the materialistic men think and discuss about subjects which satisfy their senses. But as these things are exercised under the influence of the external illusory energy, such sensual activities do not actually give them any satisfaction. On the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya, or what is not. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as an object for satisfaction. So Narad Muni, by his personal experience, says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only should be changed. No one can check the thinking activities of a living being, nor the feeling, willing, or working processes. But if one wants actual happiness, one must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking of the politics of a dying man, one might discuss the politics administered by the Lord Himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artists, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with His eternal associates like the Gopis and Lakshmis. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by His causeless mercy, descends to the earth and manifests activities almost on the line of the worldly men, but at the same time extraordinarily, because He is Almighty. He does so for the benefit of all conditioned souls, so that they can turn their attention to transcendence. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nations, the source of all miseries. This is stated from personal experience by such an authority as Sri Narada Muni, and we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we have this wonderful verse spoken by Narada Muni, and we are seeing how Narada Muni is talking from his personal experience of how he became a great, extraordinary devotee of the Lord from nothing, from no one. And this verse, if somebody understands this verse perfectly, it has got the summary of the entire Krishna consciousness process. It's a wonderful verse to memorize, because it has got the problem statement, it has got the symptom, it has got the cause, and it has also got the solution. So let's see the verse. Etadhyatura chittana matra sparshe chayamuhu bhavasindhu plavo drashto haricharyanu varnanam. In this verse, if you see, there is a word which is used called drashto, bhavasindhu plavo drashto. And Prabhupada's word-to-word translation is experienced. So drashto basically means to see certain things, but the translation says experienced, or the synonym says experienced. So this is spoken from the experience of a great devotee, of a transcendentalist like Narada Muni. So that's why the first line of the translation is, it is personally experienced by me. Drashto, I have experienced this, I have seen this. Usually when somebody who is very accomplished in life, like usually we have this interviews of CEOs and CFOs, and people ask, what is the secret of your success? Whatever words he speak, we hear it with great attention. Now here Narada Muni is telling, not an ordinary person at all, extremely great personality, and he's telling it is personally experienced by me. Drashto. What has he experienced? That people in this material world are always full of cares and anxieties. Etadhi atura chittanam. Dhi, certainly. Atura chittanam. their actually mind are always filled with cares and anxieties. What is the cause? So this is what he's saying, the problem or the symptom of people who are here in this material world, etadhyatura chittanam, and he's giving the reason, matra sparshe chaya muhu. Why? Because they're desiring, due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects. Matra is the objects of sense enjoyment. Sparsha, sparsha is senses, and ichchaya is the desire. So when somebody is desiring to contact the senses with the sense objects, that becomes the cause of atura chittana, full of worries, anxieties, cares. Bhava Sindhu, and the cares and anxieties are so much that it is compared with a ocean of nations, or a ocean of it's an ocean of birth and death, ocean of miseries. Bhava Sindhu. Such a pitiable, such a plight that we are in. Unfortunately, we don't realize our position. But is it that hopeless that we don't have any hope, and it's just we are born to get doomed? No. Plavo drashto haricharyanu varnanam. There is hope, and the hope is that there is a very strong boat, Plavo, and it's a very suitable boat to cross this ocean of nations. And that Plavo is Haricharya Anuvarnanam, the constant chanting of the names of the Lord, constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. So, such a beautiful verse, and let's see a little bit more from the purport what Prabhupada is trying to explain, and see in our life how we can implement and apply these things for our own purification and to come out of this situation. So if we look at our modern world, we feel very proud that we have made so much of progress. Science and technology has made so much of progress. iPhone, I don't know, what is the series now? 13, 14, 15, 14, okay. Which one you have, bro? 10, 11, okay. You don't have. Anyway, so the rate at which iPhones are coming, or the rate at which things are changing. What is that robot? Zumba, is it? Huh? Roomba. Roomba. So Roomba, it can clean the floor sitting in one place, and so many such technological advancements which were unheard of in earlier days. It makes us feel proud deep within that we are making so much of progress. We can go to any place, we can achieve anything that we want in life. But unfortunately, if you look at the present situation, we can sit there. Unfortunately, if you look at the present situation, then you'll see that still people are miserable. People are suffering. Suffering is not ceasing in any way, and you can see the suicide rates are increasing. People are getting more and more depressed. And all around, if you look, people are suffering. This is not really a very pleasant thing. We would have expected that the way science and technology has made progress, proportionately people would have become happier. But this is not true, and that is what is mentioned here. Our situation, as per the scriptures, we are comfortably miserable. Yes, there are comforts which is meant to make our life more pleasant, but at the same time there is misery. Misery is different from reducing the burden of life. These are inflicted on us, like anxieties, worries, tensions, which is leading to depressions and so many other things. So that is why the word used in the verse is etadhi atura chittanam. You look around, not a single person you'll find who's very happy materially. Forget about spiritually. Spiritual happiness anyway people are ignorant of. But even material happiness people don't know. I mean, first of all, there is no happiness, but there is so-called perception of happiness which is keeping people bewildered, and they are here in this material world. Before we go and see the reason why this is happening, it is very important to know that any kind of suffering, any kind of miseries that we have, that we undergo, usually there are two kinds of treatment. The first is called the symptomatic treatment, where you go to a doctor and you tell him that I've got this fever. Immediately one pill he gives you. Take this, everything will be all right. No questions asked. or you have a headache, take this and you'll be done. But there is another kind of treatment which usually the Ayurveda does, or they do root cause analysis, or they go into they do some, they take some blood and they try to find out what is the reason why this fever has come, what is the reason for this headache. Maybe some purification of blood is required, who knows. Similarly, people in this material world who are suffering are advised by the so-called experts of material science about, changing their situation, changing their externals. Maybe you are not happy here in India. Why don't you try to go to the US? You'll have better source of earning, better source of life. Your earnings will increase, and when your earnings are increasing, that will give you more avenues to indulge, and apparently you'll have more comfortable life. These are all symptomatic treatment, and we all fall for this. We all see in some movies or in some TV serials or series that some people who are working hard, trying to follow a certain lifestyle, are so happy in their own pursuits. We also try to follow in their footsteps. We may get some happiness, but ultimately it doesn't lead to a permanent state of bliss or happiness. Whereas there is another kind of happiness which is given in our scriptures, and that is going deep rooted. What is the root cause of the problem? Why people are suffering? It is not so much about changing the externals, but it is knowing our deep within, identifying the problem from the root. Bhagavatam, in the beginning it says, Dharma projita kaitavo atro paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu sivadam tapatrayo unmulanam. Tapatraya unmulanam. It takes out from the root and ensures that the disease is cured permanently. Tapatrayo unmulanam. So if you are interested in knowing that, what is the root cause? Why am I suffering? Why this solutions given by the materialistic people is not a permanent solution? Then here is the solution which Narada Muni is pointing out. But he says, what is the cause first? Why are we suffering here? The cause of misery, as given by Narada Muni, is matra sparshe chayamuhu. The reason why we are suffering is, actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of the songs, he puts it in this way: the root cause of our suffering is ignorance, nations. We are ignorant when there is a. Yesterday we were talking about Maya, and coincidentally, the verse also today is about that. The two ways in which Maya acts. First is the covering potency, or called the Avarnatmika Sakti, and the second one is called Prakshepatmika Sakti. The Sanskrit translation of the word rocket has got to do with the word prakshepa. It's like something which is forced with something which is thrown with a great force, so it goes, right? That's a rocket. So what Maya does is, first it covers our intelligence. When that covering potency is there, we don't realize that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. The first covering. And when that first covering is there, then Prakshapatmika, with a great force, it gives us a kick. Sometimes, when you are watching, like while I was coming from Mexico, I was forced to see some things on the screen. And there was one of the things which was getting telecasted there in the monitor as the India-England T20 series, which was going on. It was coming in flashes. So there, I saw there was one fast bowler who was bowling, and the person who was batting, he just deflected it. So with the speed at which the bowler has bowled, it went to a 6 behind. Not a very textbook cricket shot. Not, the connoisseurs of cricket will appreciate it. But nowadays, I think the modern cricket has evolved so much that people use all kinds of tricks. So it was, I think, Rishabh Pant who just deflated it, and it went for a 6. So what happens is, when Maya has covered you, when the intelligence is unknown, which direction it kicks you, you have no idea. And where you fall, it just goes out of the boundary. You're out of the cricket, playground. So like that, so first is Avaranatmika Sakti, where it has covered our true self, and then we feel okay. I must enjoy in this material world because that's why I'm here. The body and senses are given for a reason. The reason that it has been given is I should enjoy. But what we don't realize is that becomes the cause, the root cause of our misery, especially the senses of this touching the opposite sex. It's a very strong attachment, very strong urge, and that urge is a root cause of our misery. Many places in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita you will find Matra Sparsha. Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Apayina Anitya Stam Stitikshasva Bharata Matra Sparshe Chayamuhu. In another place in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned Yehi Sansparshaja Bhoga. Sansparshaja Bhoga. So the thing which is produced from samsparsha, which we are hankering for because our knowledge is covered, and we think that to be enjoyment, bhoga, dukkha yonaya evate. That is the cause of our miseries. That is the root cause of our misery. Dukkha yonaya evate adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. A person who is really intelligent, who is buddha, who has got little sense, common sense, he will not fall for this. But the whole world, that's why this place in scriptures are mentioned, this is Maithuna Agara. We are all shackled by this desires to enjoy the opposite sex. That's the thing which is binding us in this material world. So yehi sansparsaja bhoga dukkha yona ye evate adi antavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha doesn't indulge in this. And as per Narada Muni, this is the root cause of our misery, because we are desiring to enjoy our senses. That becomes the cause of misery. Senses and sense objects per se are not bad. We have senses, there are sense objects. Our eyes are meant to see some objects. Our ears are meant to hear. That's all good. But ichchaya, when we want the senses to enjoy by coming in touch with the sense objects, that becomes the root cause of problem. What is the solution? The solution is very wonderfully given here, and it's a very powerful solution. Solution is hearing about the glorification of the Lord. The word that is used here is Hari Charya Anuvarnanam. But you may take it as granted, or you may take it thinking that you know it, but what Prabhupada is writing here is constant glorification of the activities of the Lord. Haricharya is the glorification of the Lord, but Anuvarnanam is constantly. Doing it constantly is the reason how it changes. Haricharya Anuvarnanam means constant glorification of the Lord. By hearing and glorifying the Lord, we would be able to overcome the miseries of material nature. Now let's spend some time on this and to understand this. How somebody, he comes and says that I have got so many problems and anxieties. You are telling you will remove it from the root, and you are telling the solution is constant hearing and glorifying the Lord. Doesn't seem to appeal to our logical mind. But what we need to see is the process of hearing has a powerful transforming effect on us. Very powerful transforming effect. Bhagavad Gita says a person does any activity based on the faith that he has. And where does this faith come from? The faith comes from what he is hearing. What is the source from where he is getting this sound, where he is getting this information? That is how his faith is getting built. And based on those faith, he is doing certain activities. A child, when he is born, he is free from all evil intentions, he is free from all the sexual desires, he is free from all the contaminations of material world. But as the child grows in the environment in which he is born, as the child is exposed to different sound that he is allowing to go inside, his faith gets developed. He becomes an evil person, he becomes a good person, or he becomes a devotee, or whatever it is. It's based on the power of hearing. Similarly, if we pay attention, if we constantly hear, as we know in that series of verses, Shrinvata Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantastohi Avadrani Vidhunoti Suruhutsatam. The Lord Himself cleanses our heart by this process of hearing. Shrinvata Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantastohi Avadrani. So much of avadras are there, so much of contaminations. It doesn't go in one shot. Had that been the case, one Bhagavatam class, everybody would have become devotee. 16 rounds coming here doing devotional service. It doesn't happen. Doesn't matter how long we have been doing and since when we have been doing. It needs to be done constantly. Haricharya Anuvarnanam. If we really want to maintain that platform of sanity, if we really want to maintain that platform of transcendence, constant hearing is a very important thing. So Prabhupada is writing in the purport, Narada Muni by his personal experience says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. One side, the solution which material world is offering is filled with frustration. You try this thing, you get frustrated, you're not happy, you're promised that you'll be happy, and when you see that it is not happening, there is an alternative which they're providing. And that alternative also leads to frustration. So here it is mentioned, Narada Muni by his personal experience says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only should be changed. Anyway, we can't help ourselves from thinking. Anyway, we can't help ourselves from feeling. Anyway, we can't help ourselves from willing or talking. Why not change the subject matter? Point is that the subject matter only should be changed. No one can check the thinking activities of a living being, nor the feeling, willing or working processes. But if one wants actual happiness, one must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking of the politics of a dying man, one might discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. Instead of relishing activities of the cinema artists, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the gopis and Lakshmis. So only the subject matter when we change, when we constantly hear, repeatedly hear, Vishaya Vidushitasayam, then the goal of life that we have of sense gratification in various ways becomes purified, becomes transcendental. We develop that attitude to hear about Krishna. Now, some of the things that Prabhupada mentions, actually this verse, as I said, has got all the basic understanding, the synopsis of Krishna consciousness in these 4 lines. And the conclusion is equally powerful, where Prabhupada is writing that like Sri Narada Muni, and we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord. So he is telling, this is stated from personal experience by an authority like Sri Narada Muni. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nations, the source of all miseries. So by doing so, by constantly glorifying the activities of the Lord, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nations, the source of all miseries. This is stated from personal experience by an authority like Sri Narada Muni. And we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord. We can also have the same experience. So now imagine this life that each one of us have been blessed with. The life is really a long journey. It's not a one day or it's not a T20 kind of a thing. It's a very long journey, right? And in this long journey, we're all traversing this path without our knowledge. We have all taken to this path of living our life. But imagine if you meet someone on a road and you ask him, where are you going? He said, it's not very important to me where I am going. I'm interested in knowing whether I should take a left or a right. What do you say to that person? Are you a fool or what? I mean, where are you going? You don't know, but you want to know from me whether you should take left or right. Our situation is like that actually. In life, we are busy seeing what others are doing and why they are doing, and we are also ready to take any left or right based on what we see, what we value seeing them, but we are not very clear about our goal. First important thing in a journey is to have a goal, where you want to go. We don't know that, unfortunately, but Bhagavad Gita says, Avyakto akshara iti uktas tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mamam. The same human life, depending upon how you have used it, you can reach to different destinations. Most people miss out this, but Bhagavad Gita In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Avyakto akshara iti uktas. Tamahu paramam gati. That is the supreme destination. Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramamam. There is this Vaikuntha Loka. There is this world which is beyond this world of miseries, beyond this world of duality and tribulations. You can achieve that. Avyakto akshara iti uktas. Tamahu paramam gatim. Yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramamam. Once you obtain that, there is no more coming back to this bhava sindhu. But unfortunately, if you don't know, you are ignorant of that, then you are just busy taking left and right based on whom you are coming in touch with or whom you are associating with, and you end up, becoming again mrityu samsara vartamani, again getting into the cycle of mrityu samsara, cycle of birth and death. So one side you have apavarga vartamani, where you can come out of the cycle of birth and death, and the other one is in the cycle of mrityu samsara vartamani, based on our activities. So what makes the difference? The difference is if we are hearing properly from the right source and are in association of devotees. Narad Muni, if you see in his previous life, before even becoming the son of a maid servant, he was someone. He was a very important person. He was a Gandharva who was meant to sing and glorify the Lord. But instead of doing that, Prabhupada writes that he sang some Bollywood song. Right? So when he sang Bollywood song, he was cursed to become the son of a maid servant. Same Narada Muni. But the same Narada Muni who became nothing from something, again became an extraordinary devotee, all because of the power of hearing. He heard from the Bhakti Vedantists with proper rapt attention. Hearing always means implied that you will apply it in our life. If the hearing is just meant for, sometimes we feel, Arre, main to Bhagavatam sun raha hu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, I am coming and hearing for last so many days, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, we can hear for millions of years. If we are not hearing it with the right mood, it will not act. So hearing it with right mood means hearing properly, submissively. Sushrusho Shraddhadhanasya, Shyat Mahat Sevaya Vipraha. You know the words? Vasudeva Katharuchi. So there is a quality to our hearing. Sushrusho, one has to be submissive and one has to give proper attention to hearing. When one does that, and when one imbibes the mood of applying that in life, then the transformation happens and we can reach the Paramam Gati, the same destination as Narada Muni reached. That is what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. But to reach there, there is something which is required, and that something which is required is already stated by Prabhupada in the beginning, how Narada Muni could do this. There are some special qualifications that he had which helped him to reach that place, and I will just summarize with that. But before that, I wanted to tell you a story of one king who had 2 friends. So this king had 2 friends, and both these friends were, they were involved in some minor infringement, like they did something illegal, and they were supposed to be punished by the king. So they were brought and placed before the king, and the king has to give the judgment. Now king's friends there, king is aware, how will I punish them, he was thinking in his mind. So to come out of that state of duality, or the state of what should I do, the state of confusion, what the king did was he put a rope in a multi-story building, like imagine the Twin Towers when it was not destroyed, and the Twin Towers was connected with a rope. So he asked both of them that if you go to the other side, then you are free. You're free of all your problems. No punishment to you. So both of them went there and they looked down. It's a like 100-story building, and then they have to cross on a rope. So they both were hesitant to go first. Sir, please, you go first. He's saying, no, you go first. All the Vaishnava etiquettes they were showing at that point in time. But finally, one person thought, anyway, there is no point dealing it, I have to do it. There is nothing else that I can do. So he did. So he started putting his first step, then second step, and then the third step. And lo and behold, he just crossed. This other man, the other side, he's completely bewildered. How did he do this? And he's shouting, tell me, what is the formula? How did you do this? How could you do this? So he said, there are 2 things which is very important. The first thing that he said was, I was only focused on the goal. I wanted to reach to that other place. I was not looking left, right. I was not looking down, I was not looking up, I was not looking anywhere else. I was focused on the goal. And the second thing, which is very important, was I was ensuring that my feet is strongly placed on the rope. If I am having little bit of problem, if I'm turning towards the right, then I was ensuring that I come back again on the rope. If I'm going towards the left, and I was ensuring that I'm coming back on the rope. Same principle holds true for us. If we want to cross this journey of life and reach that supreme destination, we should be focused on the goal. There'll be so many carrots which Maya will show. Hey, postdoc ho gaya na abhi. Aja. There a nice job is there, something is waiting for you, and so many such distractions. Or today is Sunday. Prabhupada gives this example. Actually, there is a man who heard sadhu sang, who once went to his sadhu sang, and he got inspired that this is very nice. I must go next Sunday. I should go to the sadhu sang again, to the temple. The moment he embarked his journey from his house, there was a billboard which says, if you come to that place, you will get some discount today only. If you buy this, today only you will get this. So this man thought to himself, very wise, very intelligent, I should make intelligent choices, decisions. So Sadhu Sangha in temple is available all the Sundays. Temple is not running away anywhere. Sadhu Sangha is also there. Let me go and grab this because this is only today, right? Went to that place. This is what Maya does to us. Shows us lot of carrots. I know this offer is going to expire in so and so time. And instead of doing all important thing, that is engaging in devotional service to the Lord, we think this is more important. So that focus on the goal is very important if we want to achieve. And the second thing is, somehow or other, there will be, we can fall down. There will be some accidents here and there. We have to ensure that we put our foot very firmly by the Sadhu Sangha. Somehow, just stay alive. Then we can reach the supreme destination. Otherwise, it is not possible. In one of the previous purports, Prabhupada had mentioned about these three things, the secret of going back to home, back to Godhead. And the three things which was mentioned was being self-controlled, being fully obedient, and being disciplined. So if a person is not having these three things simultaneously, he is not self-controlled, he is not obedient, and he is not disciplined, then he will not be successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. If you want to follow the instruction of the spiritual master, these three things are very, very important. Self-controlled, I just recklessly live my life. Whatever temptations come, I fall for it. I go behind it. So there is no question of spiritual life then. So the first important thing is self-control. Maybe grossly I'm not doing, but there are subtle traps which Maya puts, knowing our weaknesses, and we have to be careful about them. Discipline. One of the most important things is to become disciplined in life. Sometimes people want to do, there is a feeble desire, but there is no discipline. Today in the morning we were seeing a quote where Prabhupada is saying, Nahi suptasya singhasya pravisanti mukhe mruga. Just because lion is the king of the jungle doesn't mean that some animal will come and fall in its mouth. One has to work hard. One has to be very disciplined. The word used in our scriptures is sunyantrita. It is so controlled that a person, like there are examples of devotees, you don't have to look at your watch. Just looking at the devotee, you know that it is 4 o'clock in the morning because they come dot at 4 o'clock. So that discipline is required. Without discipline, even material success is also not possible. What to talk about spiritual life and what to talk about that lofty goal of going back home, back to Godhead. So first is self-control, and the second is discipline, but the third and the most important one is becoming obedient. The way Maya acts in our lives is by giving us this two things with which we can play. One is feeling pride that I am very intelligent, I am knower of everything, dambha, and the second one is lack of surrender, where I want to do independently. First thing is, I feel because materially I am so accomplished or I am in so powerful position, I can take care of any situation. There is a pride. And the second thing is that leads to lack of surrender when I want to do things independently. But our devotional life begins with being obedient to the spiritual master, not listening to the dictation of our mind and intelligence. Only when we do that, very obediently when we follow, that we will become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. And when we become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master, we will be able to go back home, back to Godhead. We will reach there. These are some of the important points from this verse. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments.
Prabhu, discipline and self-control, are they related? It seems to be similar things required for
There
that.
could be some overlap, yes. It's similar, but there is a difference. That's why it is being called out. The word that is used, I think, is danta, dante. Danta is controlling the senses. But there is also discipline. These are all the characteristics of Narada Muni. In a previous verse it is mentioned. Any other question? Anybody online? No question. We will stop here and continue to see this wonderful instruction shared by Narada Muni and learn and apply it in our life. As I said, from somebody to nobody to an extraordinary devotee. It is possible. Doesn't matter what condition we are in, what is our situation. If we just are sincere and follow these instructions, we will achieve that same goal. We'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.